Hyunwoo Kim finished cleaning the last bathroom on level 7 of Terra Station. His shift was almost over. The night cleaning crew worked when most people slept. It was quiet work. Hyunwoo liked the quiet. He pushed his cart toward the waste disposal area. This was the last stop before going home. The waste disposal section was always the worst part of his job. People threw away strange things. Some smelled bad. Some looked dangerous. Terra Station was busy during the day. Humans and aliens from 12 different species worked together. They traded goods. They signed papers. They made deals. But at night the station felt empty. Only the cleaning crew and security guards stayed. Hyunwoo had worked as a janitor for 15 years. He had seen everything. Broken equipment, spilled chemicals, food that had gone bad, dead plants, sometimes even dead animals. But he had never seen anything like this. A small shape moved in the corner near the big waste containers. At first Hyunwoo thought it was a rat. Rats were common on space stations. They came on ships from different worlds. They ate garbage and made nests. The shape moved again. It was bigger than a rat. Much bigger. Hyunwoo turned on his flashlight. The beam showed something that made him step back in surprise. It was a child. A small alien child. The child had blue skin that looked like scales. Its eyes were large and crystal clear. But something was very wrong. The child was covered in burns. Strange burns that glowed with a soft light. The burns looked painful. The child was barely breathing. Hyunwoo knelt down slowly. He did not want to scare the child. Most aliens were bigger and stronger than humans. But this one was small and hurt. "Hello," Hyunwoo said softly. "Are you okay?" The child looked at him with those crystal eyes. There was fear in them, and pain, but also something else. Hope. Hyunwoo recognized the child's species. It was Velcaran. The Velcarans had just joined the Galactic Council. They were powerful. They had advanced technology. Their empire controlled many star systems. But why was a Velcaran child alone in the garbage area? And who had heard it? The child tried to speak. Its voice was weak. Hyunwoo could not understand the words. They were in the Velcaran language. But he understood the tone. The child was asking for help. Hyunwoo looked around. No one else was in the waste disposal area. He could call security. That would be the right thing to do. The proper thing. Security would contact the Velcaran embassy. They would take the child away. But something stopped him. The burns on the child's body were not random. They formed patterns, like symbols. Like someone had burned the symbols into the child's skin on purpose. This child had been tortured. Hyunwoo had seen torture victims before. During the war, he had been a soldier. He knew what deliberate harm looked like. Someone had hurt this child and then thrown it away like garbage. The child reached out with one small hand. Its fingers touched Hyunwoo's arm. The touch was weak but desperate. In that moment, Hyunwoo made a choice. It was not the logical choice. It was not the safe choice. But it was the human choice. He picked up the child. The child was lighter than it should be. Too light. It had not eaten in days. "Maybe weeks. I will help you," Hyunwoo whispered. He did not know if the child understood his words. But his tone was gentle, kind. Hyunwoo wrapped the child in his work jacket. He put it in his cleaning cart under some towels. If anyone saw him, he would say he was taking out garbage. He finished his shift quickly. His hands shook as he worked. What was he doing? Taking an alien child was against the law. The Velcaran government would be angry. His own government would be angry, but the child was dying, and someone had hurt it on purpose. Hyunwoo lived in a small apartment near the station. He shared it with his wife, Ji-hee. She worked as a nurse in the station's medical center. She had seen her share of injuries and sickness. When Hyunwoo came home, Ji-hee was reading in bed. She looked up when he entered. "You are late tonight," she said. "I found something," Hyunwoo said. "Someone." He showed her the child. Ji-hee's eyes went wide. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she got up and cleared the kitchen table. "Put the child here," she said. "I need to see how badly it is hurt." Ji-hee had been a combat medic before becoming a nurse. She had treated humans and aliens during the border conflicts. She knew alien biology better than most doctors. She examined the child carefully. Her face grew angry as she saw the burn patterns. "Someone did this on purpose," she said. "These are ritual burns, sacred symbols from Velcaran culture. But they are burned into the skin wrong. like someone was trying to remove them. Remove them? Hyunwoo asked. Look here, Jihai pointed to the child's forehead. This pattern means royal blood, and this one on the chest means heir. Someone tried to burn away the marks of nobility. The child was Velkaran royalty. That explained the crystal eyes and the fine bone structure. But why would someone try to remove royal markings? We should call the authorities, Jihai said. But her voice was uncertain. Look at those burns, Hyunwoo said. Someone in authority did this. Maybe the same authorities we would call. Jihai nodded slowly. She understood. The child will die without help, she said. The burns are infected, and it has not eaten in too long. Can you save it? Jihai looked at the small alien child. It was breathing slowly but steadily. Even unconscious, it seemed to be fighting to live. I can try, she said, but we will need supplies, medicine, food that Velkarans can eat. I will get them, Hyunwoo said, and then what? We cannot hide a Velkaran child forever. Someone will notice. Hyunwoo looked at the child. So small, so hurt, so alone. Then we will figure it out, he said. One day at a time, Jihee smiled. This was why she had married Hyunwoo. He was not the smartest man. He was not the richest or the strongest. But he had a good heart. When he saw someone who needed help, he helped. Even when it was dangerous. Even when it was stupid. What should we call the child? She asked. Hyunwoo thought for a moment. They had lost their own son years ago. The baby had died before his first birthday. They had planned to name him Do-hyun. Do-hyun, Hyunwoo said. We will call him Do-hyun. The child stirred at the sound of the name. Its crystal eyes opened and looked at them. For the first time, there was no fear in those eyes. Only trust. Jihai began gathering medical supplies. Hyunwoo went to buy food. Neither of them knew they had just adopted the heir to the Velkaran throne. They only knew they had found a child who needed help, and helping was what humans did best. 10 years had passed since that night in the waste disposal area. Hyunwoo now worked as a custodian at New Busan Elementary School on the colony world of New Busan. The frontier planet was quiet and safe. Perfect for raising a child. Do-hyun had grown into a tall teenager. His blue scales had darkened to a deep ocean color. His crystal eyes sparkled when he laughed. The burn scars had faded but never completely disappeared. They looked like old tattoos now. Do-hyun. Breakfast. Jihai called from the kitchen. Do-hyun ran downstairs. His feet made soft sounds on the wooden steps. The house was small but warm. Family pictures covered the walls. Most showed Do-hyun at different ages. Playing soccer. Getting awards at school. Smiling with his human parents. Good morning, Uma, Do-hyun said in Korean. He had learned Korean as his first language. Sometimes he spoke English with his classmates. But at home he spoke Korean with his parents. Jihai put a bowl of rice and soup in front of him. She had also made kimchi. Do-hyun loved kimchi. Most aliens found it too spicy, but Do-hyun ate it with every meal. You have soccer practice after school today, Jihai reminded him. I know. Coach Min-ho says we might win the championship this year. Hyunwoo came into the kitchen. He wore his custodian uniform. The school colors were blue and white. Are you ready for your history test? Hyunwoo asked. Yes, Appa. I studied all about the first colony wars. Humans are very good at adapting to new worlds. Do-hyun found human history fascinating. Humans had spread across the galaxy in just 300 years. They made friends with other species. They built cities on worlds that seemed impossible to live on. They never gave up. That is because humans are stubborn, Jihai said with a smile. Like someone else I know. Do-hyun grinned. He knew she meant him. After breakfast, Do-hyun walked to school with his father. Other children joined them along the way. None of them treated Do-hyun differently because he was alien. To them, he was just Do-hyun, their friend and classmate. Morning, Do-hyun, called out Taemin, a boy from his soccer team. Ready for the math quiz? Asked Yoonsu, a girl from his science class. Do-hyun was popular at school. He was smart and kind. He helped other students with their homework. He never made fun of anyone. He treated everyone like family. At school, his first class was with Mrs. Soonja Park. She taught advanced mathematics. Do-hyun was the best student in her class. Numbers and equations came naturally to him. He could solve problems that confused other students. Today we will learn about quantum calculations, Mrs. Park said. These are very difficult. Even college students struggle with them. She wrote a complex equation on the board. The other students looked confused, but Do-hyun raised his hand. The answer is 847.3 recurring, he said. Mrs. Park checked her answer key. Do-hyun was correct. How did you solve it so quickly? She asked. Do-hyun looked embarrassed. I just see the patterns. Numbers make sense to me. After math class, Do-hyun went to his favorite class. It was called Galactic Cultures and was taught by Mr. Woo Jin-yoon. The class learned about different alien species and their societies. Today they were studying the Velcaran Empire. The Velcarans are a proud species, Mr. Yoon explained. They have a strict social system. Everyone has their place. They do not like change. Do-hyun listened carefully. He knew he was Velcaran. His parents had told him when he was old enough to understand. They explained that his birth family had abandoned him. But his real family was here on New Busan. The Velcaran government is led by an emperor, Mr. Yoon continued. Only certain families can rule. They believe in bloodlines and tradition. A student raised her hand. What happens if someone does not fit into their system? They are usually sent away, Mr. Yoon said sadly. The Velcarans do not accept differences very well. Do-hyun touched the faded scars on his arm. Now he understood why someone had hurt him. He was different. And his birth people did not like different. But humans were different. They accepted everyone. After school, Do-hyun went to soccer practice. Coach Min-ho was a former professional player. He had taught Do-hyun to use his natural speed and strength. Remember, Coach Min-ho said, soccer is not about being the fastest or strongest. It is about working together as a team. Do-hyun played midfielder. He was good at seeing the whole field. He could predict where the ball would go. He helped his teammates score goals. During practice, the ball flew toward the school building. It was going to break a window. Do-hyun ran after it. Without thinking, he reached out his hand. The ball stopped in midair. Everyone stared. The ball was floating above Do-hyun's palm. A soft blue light glowed around his fingers. Whoa, whispered Taemin. How did you do that? Do-hyun looked scared. The ball fell to the ground. The blue light disappeared. I do not know, he said. Coach Min-ho walked over. He put his hand on Do-hyun's shoulder. That was amazing, he said. You have a special gift. Am I in trouble? Do-hyun asked. Why would you be in trouble for being special? That evening, Do-hyun told his parents what had happened. They were not surprised. We have seen you fix things before, Ji-hee said. Remember when the washing machine broke? You touched it and it started working again. And the computer at school, Hyun-woo added. Mr. Kim said it had been broken for months. You touched the screen and it turned on. Do-hyun had always been good with machines. He thought everyone could do it. Does this mean I am a freak? He asked. No, Ji-hee said firmly. It means you are gifted. Every person has special talents. Yours just happened to be very unusual. Your birth family threw you away because you were different, Hyun-woo said. But we love you because you are different. You are our son. Nothing will change that. That night, Do-hyun lay in bed thinking. He had strange powers. His birth family had rejected him, but his real family accepted him completely. He thought about his classmates. They had seen him stop the soccer ball with some kind of energy field, but none of them had been afraid. They thought it was cool. This was the difference between humans and other species. Humans did not fear what was different. They celebrated it. Do-hyun picked up his homework. It was an essay for Korean literature class. The topic was what makes a family. He began to write, a family is not made by blood or species. A family is made by love and acceptance. My parents found me when I was broken and alone. They did not care that I was alien. They did not care that I was different. They saw a child who needed help, and they helped. He paused and looked at a family photo on his desk. Hyun-woo and Ji-hye stood behind him at his middle school graduation. All three of them were smiling. Humans have taught me that being different is not wrong. It is special. They have taught me that family means never giving up on each other, no matter what. Do-hyun finished his essay and went to sleep. Outside his window, the stars of New Busan's night sky twinkled. Somewhere among those stars was the Velcaran Empire, the place where he was born, but this was home. This small house with his human parents. This school where his friends accepted him. This world where being different was okay. Do-hyun did not know that Velcaran scouts were looking for him. He did not know he was a prince. He only knew he was loved, and for now that was enough. The next morning he would wake up and go to school. He would eat breakfast with his parents. He would play soccer with his friends. He would be a normal teenager on a human colony world. But his powers were growing stronger, and someday his two worlds would collide. For now, though, he was just Do-hyun Kim, the alien boy who had learned to be human. The ships appeared in New Busan sky on a Tuesday morning. 5 massive Velcaron warships, their hulls gleaming like black metal in the sunlight. They moved silently through the atmosphere and landed outside the colony's main city. Do-hyun was in math class when the emergency sirens began to wail. Mrs. Soonja, Park stopped teaching and turned on the classroom screen. The local news was showing the alien ships. "Students, please remain calm," Mrs. Park said, but her voice was shaking. Do-hyun felt sick to his stomach. He knew those ship designs. He had studied them in his Galactic Cultures class. They were Velcaron Imperial Navy vessels, the kind used for important missions. Principal Lee's voice came over the school speakers. "All students are to go home immediately. Parents are being contacted. Please leave in an orderly fashion." Do-hyun ran all the way home. His parents were already there. Ji-hai had left work early. Hyun-woo had been called away from the school. "They are here for you," Ji-hai said quietly. "Aren't they?" Do-hyun nodded. "I think so." Through their window they could see people gathering in the streets. Some looked scared. Others seemed curious. Human colonists were brave but not stupid. Velcaron warships did not visit frontier planets for social calls. A knock came at the door. Hyun-woo answered it. A tall human man in a diplomatic uniform stood outside. Behind him were 2 Velcaron soldiers in ceremonial armor. "Mr. Kim, I am Ambassador Tae Kyung-yoon. I represent Earth's colonial government. May we come in?" Hyun-woo let them enter. The Velcaron soldiers were huge. Their scaled skin was darker than Do-hyun's. Their eyes glowed with a cold light. "We are looking for stolen property," one of the soldiers said in perfect English. "A young Velcaron who was taken from his rightful place." "There is no stolen property here," Hyun-woo said firmly. Ambassador Yoon looked uncomfortable. "Mr. Kim, the Velcaron government claims that you are harboring Prince Kithmar, the rightful heir to their throne." Do-hyun stepped forward. "My name is Do-hyun Kim. I am a student at New Busan Elementary." The Velcaron soldier stared at him. "You carry the royal marks. Even though someone tried to burn them away, we can still see them. You are Prince Kithmar, son of Emperor Veltar." "I do not know any emperor," Do-hyun said. "These people are my parents. This is my home," the soldier laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "You are Velcaron nobility. You do not belong with these humans." "These humans saved my life," Do-hyun said angrily. "Your people threw me away like garbage." "You were exiled for good reason," the soldier said. "Your abilities are an abomination, but you are still royal blood. The emperor has decided you should return." Ambassador Yoon cleared his throat. "The Velcaron government is willing to overlook the irregular adoption, but they insist that Prince Kithmar return to face his responsibilities." "What responsibilities?" Ji-hai asked. "He is heir to the throne," the soldier explained. "When the emperor dies, he must rule the empire." "I do not want to rule anything," Do-hyun said. "I want to finish school. I want to play soccer. I want to live with my family." "Your family is Velcaron nobility," the soldier said coldly. "These humans are nothing to you." Hyun-woo stepped between the soldier and his son. "Do-hyun is our child. We raised him. We love him. No one is taking him away." The soldier reached for his weapon, but Ambassador Yoon stopped him. "Please let us discuss this calmly," the ambassador said. "Surely we can find a compromise." "There is no compromise," the soldier said. "The prince returns with us. Today." "Over my dead body," Ji-hai said. More people were gathering outside their house. Do-hyun could see his classmates and their parents. Coach Minho was there. Mrs. Park was there. Even the local shopkeepers had come. Mrs. Myung-seo from the neighborhood association stepped forward. She was a small woman but very fierce. "This boy is one of ours," she announced loudly. "No one is taking our children away." The crowd murmured agreement. More people kept arriving. Soon the entire street was filled with colonists. Captain Jae-sung Kwon of the Colonial Defense Force pushed through the crowd. He was wearing his military uniform and carrying his sidearm. "What seems to be the problem here?" he asked. "These aliens want to kidnap Do-hyun," someone shouted. "He is not being kidnapped," the Velcaron soldier said. "He is being returned to his proper place." Captain Kwon looked at Do-hyun. "Son, do you want to go with them?" "No, sir. I want to stay here with my family." "Then you stay." Captain Kwan said simply. On this world, children get to choose their own fate. The Velkaran soldier was getting angry. You cannot interfere with Imperial business. This is not Imperial territory, Captain Kwan replied. This is a human colony. We have our own laws here. Ambassador Yoon looked very nervous. A diplomatic crisis was developing. The Velkaran Empire was powerful, but so was humanity. A fight between the two could lead to war. Perhaps we could arrange visits, the ambassador suggested. The prince could learn about his heritage gradually. I already know about my heritage, Do-hyun said. My heritage is being abandoned by my birth family and saved by humans. My heritage is learning that family is about love, not blood. The crowd cheered. Do-hyun's soccer teammates started chanting his name. His teachers smiled proudly. The Velkaran soldier looked around at all the human faces. They were not afraid of him. They were protecting one of their own. This is not over, he said. The emperor will not accept this insult. Tell your emperor something for me, Hyunwoo said. He stepped forward until he was face to face with the huge alien soldier. Tell him that real parents do not abandon their children, and real families do not let their children get taken away. The soldier stared down at the small human janitor. In the soldier's world, rank and title meant everything. But this human showed no fear or respect for alien nobility. You are making a mistake, the soldier warned. The only mistake was made 18 years ago, Hyunwoo replied, when your people threw away a child for being different. The Velkaran soldiers left. Ambassador Yoon promised to try to find a peaceful solution, but everyone knew this was just the beginning. That night, the Kim family sat together in their living room. The street outside was still full of neighbors keeping watch. No one trusted the Velkarans to give up easily. I am sorry, Do-hyun said. I have brought trouble to everyone. You have brought nothing but joy to our lives, Ji-hai said firmly. And this community loves you. Did you see how many people came to protect you? Do-hyun looked out the window at all the people standing guard. His soccer coach was talking to Mrs. Park. Captain Kwan was coordinating with other Defense Force members. The whole colony had come together to protect one teenager. They are my people, Do-hyun said quietly. Not because of blood or species, but because of choice. Because of love, Hyunwoo nodded. And we will fight to keep our family together. All of us. Outside, the Velkaran ships waited like dark storm clouds. But inside the small house, surrounded by human love and protection, Do-hyun felt safe. He was about to learn that safety was an illusion. The Velkaran Empire did not give up easily, and his royal blood came with a price that could destroy everything he held dear. But for tonight, he was still just Do-hyun Kim, a human boy with an alien heritage and a family worth fighting for. The next morning brought news that changed everything. The Velkaran Empire had issued an ultimatum. They gave the human colonists 3 days to hand over Prince Kithmar. If they refused, there would be consequences. Do-hyun sat in the town hall with his parents. The entire colony had gathered for an emergency meeting. Mayor Jin Ho Choi stood at the front of the room. His face was serious but determined. The Velkaran ambassador has made their position clear, Mayor Choi announced. They want Do-hyun. They say he belongs to them by blood and law. Angry voices rose from the crowd. People shouted protests. Someone called the Velkarans kidnappers. What do we do? Asked Mrs. Song from the market district. Mayor Choi looked directly at Do-hyun. That depends on what our young citizen wants to do. Do-hyun stood up. The room went quiet. Everyone waited to hear what he would say. I want to stay here, he said clearly. This is my home. You are my people, but I do not want anyone to get hurt because of me. Old Mr. Dongmin Lee stood up from the back of the room. He was the town's head mechanic. Everyone respected him. Boy, do you remember when you were 12 and you fixed my fusion generator? Yes, sir. That generator had been broken for 6 months. 3 different repair crews could not fix it. You touched it once and it worked perfectly. Do you know why? Do-hyun shook his head. Because you do not see machines as foreign objects. You see them as friends. As partners. That is not a Velkaran trait. That is something you learn from living with humans. Mrs. Park raised her hand. Do-hyun helped my daughter with her math homework for 2 years. He never asked for anything in return. He just wanted to help. That is human kindness. More people began speaking. They told stories about Do-hyun helping them, fixing their equipment, tutoring their children, being a good neighbor and friend. This boy is more human than many humans, declared Captain Kwan. and we do not abandon our own. The vote was unanimous. New Busan Colony would not hand over Do-hyun to the Velkaran Empire, but voting was the easy part. The hard part would be dealing with the consequences. Ambassador Yoon worked frantically to find a diplomatic solution. He sent messages to Earth. He talked to other colonial governments. He even tried to contact moderate voices in the Velkaran government. Meanwhile, something unexpected was happening across human space. News of Do-hyun's story had spread through the communication networks. Other human colonies were paying attention. Protests began on dozens of worlds. Humans gathered in public squares, holding signs that read, "Protect Do-hyun and family." First, the story of a simple janitor. Saving an alien child had captured human imagination. Do-hyun watched the news reports in amazement. People he had never met were standing up for him. Human nature was showing itself again. They could not resist helping the underdog. Dr. Hyun Jung Kim from the Colonial Medical Center came to examine Do-hyun's abilities. She was a scientist who studied alien biology. "Your powers are fascinating," she told him. "You can interface directly with electronic systems. You can manipulate energy fields. These are not mutations or diseases. They are evolutionary advances. Then why did my birth family hate them?" Do-hyun asked. Dr. Kim looked at his medical scans. "Because your abilities threaten their social system. If all Velkarans had powers like yours, their rigid class structure would collapse. The nobles stay in power by keeping others weak." This was a shocking discovery. Do-hyun's exile had nothing to do with him being defective. It was about protecting the status quo. His sister Young-hee came home from university to be with the family. She was studying interstellar law. She had ideas about how to fight the Velkaran demands legally. "We need to prove that you were legally adopted," she explained. "If we can show that your birth family abandoned you, then their claim becomes invalid." "How do we prove abandonment?" Hyunwoo asked. "We already have proof," Young-hee said. "Appa found Do-hyun in a garbage disposal. That is literal abandonment." Meanwhile, the Velkaran ships remained in orbit. They made no aggressive moves. But their presence was a constant threat. On the second day, something unexpected happened. Ambassador Yoon received a communication from Earth. The human government was taking an official position. "We support the right of any being to choose their own family and destiny," the message stated. "We will not allow children to be taken from loving homes by force." This was huge. Earth was backing a small frontier colony against a galactic empire. It was the kind of crazy, idealistic thing that humans did. The response from other human worlds was even stronger. The colonial defense fleet began moving ships toward New Busan, not to attack anyone, but to make it clear that the colony was not alone. Do-hyun felt overwhelmed by the support. Millions of humans he would never meet were willing to risk conflict to protect him. "Why?" he asked his father. "Why would strangers fight for one alien boy?" Hyunwoo smiled. "Because you are not an alien boy to them. You are family, and humans protect family. But I am not actually human. Do-hyun being human is not about biology. It is about how you treat others, how you choose to live your life. By that measure, you are more human than most humans." On the third day, Do-hyun made a decision that surprised everyone. He called Ambassador Yoon and asked for a meeting with the Velkaran representatives. "I want to talk to them," he said. "Not as Prince Kithmar, as Do-hyun Kim. I want to explain something to them." His parents were worried, but they trusted their son's judgment. The meeting took place in the town hall. The Velkaran soldiers looked uncomfortable surrounded by so many humans, but Do-hyun walked in confidently. "You want me to return to the Velkaran Empire," he said, "to take my place as heir to the throne." "That is correct," the lead soldier replied. "I will do it," Do-hyun said. Gasps rose from the human observers. His parents looked shocked. "But not as your prisoner," Do-hyun continued, "and not as the person you want me to be. I will return as myself, as Do-hyun Kim, as a human-raised Velkaran who believes in different values." "What do you mean?" the soldier asked suspiciously. "I mean, I will come back to challenge everything your empire stands for. I will show your people that there is a better way to live, a way based on acceptance and love instead of fear and tradition." The soldier looked angry. "You think you can change an empire?" Do-hyun smiled. It was the same confident smile he wore when solving difficult math problems. "I learned from the best teachers in the galaxy," he said. "I learned from humans, and humans never give up on making things better." The meeting ended with an agreement. Do-hyun would return to the Velkaran Empire, but he would go as a free person, not a prisoner. And he would have the right to visit his human family whenever he wanted. That night, the Kim family held a farewell dinner. Friends and neighbors filled their house. It felt like a celebration and a funeral at the same time. "I will come back," Do-hyun promised his parents. "This is my real home. But I need to show the Velkaran people what I learned here." "What did you learn here?" Ji-hai asked. Do-hyun thought for a moment. "I learned that family is a choice. I learned that being different makes you special, not broken. I learned that love is stronger than law or tradition or fear." Hyunwoo hugged his son tightly. "Then go teach them, son. Show them what humans taught you." The next morning, Do-hyun boarded the Velkaran ship. But he was not alone. Ambassador Yoon came with him as an official representative. Young-hee came as his legal advisor. And dozens of news reporters came to document everything. The human response to one alien boy's crisis had become a galactic movement. And it was just getting started. The Velkaran imperial capital was nothing like New Busan. The city stretched across an entire continent. Buildings rose like crystal spears into the purple sky. Everything was perfectly ordered and arranged. No chaos, no mess, no life. Do-hyun stood on the observation deck of the transport ship. He wore simple human clothes, blue jeans and a New Busan soccer team shirt. The Velkaran officials had wanted him to wear royal robes. He had refused. "It is magnificent," Ambassador Yoon said quietly. "It is cold," Do-hyun replied. The ship landed at the imperial palace. Thousands of Velkaran nobles waited to see the returned prince. They stood in perfect rows. No one spoke. No one moved. It was like a parade of statues. Emperor Veltar waited on the palace steps. He was tall and imposing. His scales were pure silver. His eyes glowed with ancient power. Do-hyun could see the family resemblance. They had the same bone structure, the same crystal eyes, but there was no warmth in the emperor's gaze. "Prince Kithmar," the emperor said formally, "you have returned to us." "My name is Do-hyun Kim," Do-hyun replied in perfect Velkaran language. He had learned it from language programs during the journey. "I am here as a guest, not a subject." Murmurs ran through the crowd of nobles. No one spoke to the emperor that way. "You are my son," the emperor said. "You are heir to this empire." "You threw me away when I was a child," Do-hyun said calmly. "Humans found me in the garbage and raised me with love. Which family sounds more real to you?" The emperor's eyes flashed with anger. But he controlled himself. Too many people were watching. The first few days in the palace were difficult. Do-hyun was given a huge suite of rooms. Servants waited to fulfill his every need. But he felt like a prisoner in a golden cage. Court officials tried to teach him proper behavior, how to walk like royalty, how to speak to nobles, how to follow thousands of ancient protocols. "A prince does not slouch the protocol," instructor told him. "A prince does not speak to servants directly," said the etiquette teacher. "A prince does not question the wisdom of his elders," warned the political advisor. Do-hyun listened politely. Then he did exactly what he wanted to do anyway. He talked to the palace servants, not as their superior but as their friend. He learned their names. He asked about their families. He helped them with their work when he could. The servants were shocked at first. Nobles never spoke to them as equals. But Do-hyun's genuine kindness won them over quickly. "You are different from other royalty," said Kethra, a young cleaning servant. "I was raised by humans," Do-hyun explained. "They taught me that everyone deserves respect." "What are humans like?" Kethra asked curiously. Do-hyun smiled. "They are messy and loud and emotional. They argue with each other constantly. But they would die for their friends. They adopt strangers as family. They never give up hope." Word spread through the palace. The returned prince was acting strangely. He treated servants like people. He questioned authority. He talked about alien concepts like equality and choice. Some nobles were scandalized, but others were curious. Young Lord Zephyron visited Do-hyun's chambers one evening. "I have heard interesting stories about you," Zephyron said. "What kind of stories?" "That you can interface with technology without training. That you have abilities the nobles fear. That you were exiled for being different." Do-hyun studied the young lord carefully. "What do you want?" Zephyron looked around nervously. Then he rolled up his sleeves. His arms were covered with strange markings. Energy patterns flowed under his skin. I have been hiding this my entire life, Zephyron whispered. I can manipulate matter at the molecular level. If anyone discovered my abilities, I would be exiled or worse. Do-hyun stared in amazement. You are not the only one. There are others. Dozens of us. Maybe hundreds. We hide our gifts because the ruling class fears us. They maintain power by keeping us weak and afraid. This was exactly what Dr. Kim had suspected. Do-hyun's abilities were not unique. They were being systematically suppressed. Why are you telling me this? Do-hyun asked. Because you are the heir. If you became emperor, you could change things. You could make it safe for people like us to exist openly. Do-hyun felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. This was bigger than just his personal freedom. There were others suffering under the current system. He began meeting secretly with the hidden Velkarans who possessed unusual abilities. Each had a story of fear and concealment. Each lived in terror of discovery. We could organize, suggested Lithana, a young noble who could communicate telepathically. We could demand recognition and rights. That would be rebellion, warned Morthek, an older Velkaran who could phase through solid matter. They would destroy us all. They are already destroying us, Do-hyun pointed out. They are making us deny who we are. They are wasting our potential. How is that different from death? Meanwhile, Ambassador Yoon was working through diplomatic channels. He met with moderate nobles who were unhappy with the current system. He shared reports from human colonies showing how diversity made communities stronger. Young Hee used her legal training to research Velkaran law. She discovered old statutes that protected the rights of heirs to challenge imperial policies. You have the legal right to propose reforms, she told her brother. As heir to the throne, your voice carries weight. Do-hyun decided it was time to act. He requested a formal audience with the Imperial Council. The throne room was enormous. Hundreds of the most powerful Velkarans in the Empire gathered to hear what the returned prince had to say. Emperor Veltar sat on a throne made from a single massive crystal. Do-hyun stood before him wearing his human clothes and a confident expression. My lords and ladies, Do-hyun began, I have returned from the human colonies with new perspectives on governance and society. Skeptical murmurs filled the room. I have seen how humans build communities based on acceptance and mutual support. I have witnessed the strength that comes from embracing diversity rather than fearing it. Humans are weak and chaotic, declared Lord High Counselor Vorthek. Their methods would destroy our civilization, would they? Do-hyun asked. Let me show you something. He walked to the center of the room. Then he reached out with his abilities and interfaced with the palace's central computer system. Holographic displays appeared throughout the throne room. They showed data from human colonies, economic growth rates, scientific advancement statistics, social stability measurements. Human colonies consistently outperform homogeneous societies in innovation, adaptation, and long-term stability, Do-hyun explained. They succeed because they use everyone's talents instead of wasting them. The nobles stared at the data in shock. No one had ever presented information this way before. Furthermore, Do-hyun continued, I can prove that our empire has been deliberately weakening itself. The room went deadly silent. Do-hyun activated another display. This one showed genetic analysis data that Young Hee had helped him compile. At least 20% of our population possesses advanced abilities similar to mine. But they are forced to hide these gifts. We are throwing away our greatest resources out of fear. Emperor Veltar leaned forward on his throne. You speak of things you do not understand, boy. I understand perfectly, Do-hyun replied. You maintain power by keeping others weak. But imagine what our empire could accomplish if we used everyone's full potential. He gestured and the holographic display changed again. It showed theoretical projections of Velkaran advancement if all abilities were utilized. We could explore distant galaxies. We could solve energy crises. We could eliminate disease and poverty, but only if we stopped being afraid of our own people. The throne room erupted in chaos. Some nobles were outraged. Others seemed thoughtful. A few looked excited by the possibilities. Emperor Veltar raised his hand for silence. These are radical ideas, he said carefully. Change brings danger. Stagnation brings death, Do-hyun countered. Humans taught me that growth requires risk. That progress demands courage. And what if you are wrong? What if these changes destroy our way of life? Do-hyun smiled. Then we will adapt and find a better way. That is what families do. They face challenges together. That word family hung in the air. For the first time, the emperor looked uncertain. Do-hyun had planted seeds of change in the heart of the empire. Now he had to wait and see if they would grow. But he was not waiting passively. He continued meeting with the hidden Valkyrans. He worked with young He to draft legal reforms. He built alliances with moderate nobles, and every night he video called his parents on New Busan. They gave him strength to keep fighting for what was right. "Are you sure about this path, son?" Hyunwoo asked during one call. "Yes, Appa, you taught me to help others. This is how I helped them." The revolution was beginning, and it was being led by a Valkyran prince who had learned human values. The revelation came during a routine council meeting 3 months after Do-hyun's return. He had been gathering evidence with help from young He and several sympathetic nobles. Today, he would present the truth that would shake the empire to its core. "My fellow Valkyrans," Do-hyun announced to the packed throne room, "I have discovered something that will change how we see ourselves forever." Emperor Veltar sat stiffly on his throne. He had grown tired of his son's constant challenges to tradition. "What earth-shaking discovery have you made now?" the emperor asked with barely concealed irritation. Do-hyun activated his interface with the palace computer systems. Holographic displays filled the air with historical records, genetic data, and suppressed government documents. For the past 500 years, our ruling class has been systematically identifying children with advanced abilities and either exiling them or suppressing their powers, Do-hyun announced. Gasps echoed through the chamber. "These are serious accusations," declared Lord High Counselor Vorthek. "Do you have proof?" "I have extensive proof," Do-hyun replied. He gestured, and the display showed thousands of medical records. Government files documenting the removal of defective children. Genetic modification programs designed to eliminate certain traits. Exile orders for anyone showing unusual abilities. The evidence was overwhelming. Document after document showed a deliberate policy of genetic suppression. "But why?" asked Lady Serinda, a moderate noble who had been quietly supporting Do-hyun's reforms. "To maintain the current power structure," Do-hyun explained. "If everyone had access to their full potential, the artificial class system would collapse. Common citizens would be as capable as nobles, maybe more capable." He activated another display. This one showed the real extent of hidden abilities in the population. According to genetic analysis, nearly 60% of all Valkyrans carry genes for advanced abilities. But only nobles are allowed to develop them, and even then only certain types are considered acceptable. The room was in chaos. Nobles were shouting at each other. Some demanded Do-hyun be silenced. Others called for investigations. "This is preposterous," Emperor Veltar declared. "These records could be falsified." "Then let us test the population," Do-hyun challenged. "Let us see how many of our people have been forced to hide their true nature." It was then that something unexpected happened. Young Lord Zephron stood up in the gallery where lesser nobles sat. "The prince speaks the truth," Zephron announced. "I have hidden my abilities my entire life out of fear." He demonstrated his molecular manipulation powers, transforming a metal sculpture into living crystal before everyone's eyes. More nobles began standing. Lady Kythara showed her ability to generate energy shields. Lord Morthvin revealed his talent for matter teleportation. One by one, dozens of hidden Valkyrans revealed their suppressed abilities. Emperor Veltar stared in shock as his own court transformed before his eyes. These were not outcasts or criminals. They were respected members of society who had been living in fear. "How many more are there?" he asked quietly. "Millions," Do-hyun replied. "Scattered across the empire, hiding, afraid, wasting their potential because they fear exile or worse." The emperor stood up from his throne. For the first time in decades, he looked uncertain. "If what you say is true, then we have been weakening ourselves for centuries." "It is true, father, and it is time to change." The transformation did not happen overnight. It took months of careful negotiation and gradual reform, but human diplomatic pressure helped speed the process. Ambassador Sujin Bei arrived from Earth with a team of negotiators. She made it clear that continued relations with humanity depended on Valkyran civil rights reforms. "We cannot in good conscience maintain alliances with governments that suppress their own people," she stated firmly. "Trade," Representative Kyung-soo. "I'll back this up with economic analysis. Human colonies controlled significant trade routes. The Velkaran economy needed human cooperation, but the most powerful argument came from Do-hyun's adoptive father. Hyun-woo Kim was invited to address the Imperial Council. The simple janitor stood before the most powerful beings in the Velkaran Empire, wearing his work clothes and speaking simple truths. "I found your heir in the garbage," he told them. "Beaten, burned, dying. You threw away your most precious treasure because he was different." The throne room was completely silent. I took him home. My wife and I nursed him back to health. We fed him. We taught him. We loved him. Not because he was a prince, but because he was a child who needed help. Emperor Veltar leaned forward, listening intently. For 18 years, we watched him grow into a young man of character and compassion. He helped his classmates with homework. He fixed broken machines for his neighbors. He played soccer and ate kimchi and learned to be human. Hyun-woo paused, looking directly at the emperor. "You are his biological father, but you never knew him. You never saw him take his first steps or speak his first words. You never comforted him during nightmares or celebrated his achievements." The emperor's crystal eyes were beginning to glow with unshed tears. What kind of father throws away his child for being different? And what kind of society supports him in doing so? The question hung in the air like a judgment. That night, Emperor Veltar came to Do-hyun's chambers. It was the first time they had been alone together since Do-hyun's return. "I was young when you were born," the emperor said quietly. "The court advisors told me your abilities were dangerous. They said you would destabilize the empire." "So you believed them," Do-hyun replied without anger. "I was afraid of change, afraid of losing control. I chose to preserve the system rather than protect my son." Do-hyun studied his biological father. The powerful emperor looked old and tired. "It is not too late to make different choices," Do-hyun said gently. The emperor nodded slowly. "What would you have me do?" "Abdicate. Let me rule. Let me build the empire we could have been all along." 2 days later, Emperor Veltar announced his abdication. The succession ceremony was unlike any in Velkaran history. Do-hyun was crowned wearing simple clothes from New Busan. His adoptive parents stood beside him during the ceremony. His sister Young-hee served as legal advisor. Ambassador Yoon represented Earth's friendship, but the most important moment came when Do-hyun announced his first royal decree. "Today begins a new age for the Velkaran Empire," he declared. "An age where every citizen can develop their full potential, where families are built on love rather than biology, where being different is celebrated rather than punished." The audience of nobles and common citizens cheered. For the first time in centuries, hope filled the imperial throne room. "I hereby establish the Department of Individual Development," Do-hyun continued. "Every Velkaran citizen will be tested for abilities and given training to develop their full potential. No more hiding, no more fear, no more wasted talent." The crowd erupted in celebration. Thousands of Velkarans who had lived in secret finally felt free to be themselves. Do-hyun's second decree was even more revolutionary. "I am establishing adoption agencies throughout the empire. Any child who is abandoned or unwanted will be given to families who will love them. Blood relation is no longer the only definition of family." This announcement brought tears to many eyes. The concept of chosen family was foreign to Velkaran culture, but the idea resonated with parents who had lost children and children who had lost parents. The changes happened quickly. Within months, the rigid Velkaran class system began to crumble. Citizens with previously hidden abilities emerged from the shadows. Scientists made breakthrough discoveries. Artists created new forms of beauty. Engineers solved problems that had plagued the empire for generations. The economic improvements were dramatic. Trade increased as Velkarans developed new technologies. Scientific advancement accelerated as more minds contributed to research. Social stability improved as citizens felt valued and included. Other galactic civilizations watched in amazement as the Velkaran Empire transformed from a rigid autocracy into a dynamic society based on merit and inclusion. The human response was typically enthusiastic. Colonies throughout human space celebrated the changes. Exchange programs brought human students to study in Velkaran universities. Joint research projects began developing new technologies. But the most meaningful changes were personal. Thousands of Velkaran children who would have been abandoned or suppressed were instead adopted by loving families. The first Velkaran adoption agency was named the Hyunwoo Kim Center for Family Services. Do Hyun established regular communication between the empire and human colonies. He visited New Busan every year for the colony's founding day celebration. He never missed a soccer match when his old team made the championships. 5 years after his coronation, Do Hyun married Lady Serinda, one of the nobles who had supported his reforms from the beginning. Their wedding was a mixture of Velkaran and human traditions. Ji-hee taught the bride to make kimchi. Hyunwoo walked Do Hyun down the aisle. When Do Hyun and Serinda had their first child, they followed human tradition and asked Do Hyun's adoptive parents to be grandparents. The sight of a human janitor holding the heir to the Velkaran throne became a symbol of the new empire. The child was born with the ability to phase between dimensions. In the old empire, such a power would have been feared and suppressed. In the new empire, it was celebrated as a gift. 10 years after the transformation began, Ambassador Yoon wrote a report for the human government. It became required reading in diplomatic schools throughout the galaxy. The Velkaran Reformation proves a fundamental truth about civilization, he wrote. Societies grow stronger when they embrace diversity rather than fearing it. When they value individuals rather than suppressing them. When they choose love over tradition. The report continued. This transformation began with one human janitor who saw a dying child and chose compassion over indifference. It proves that the smallest acts of kindness can reshape entire civilizations. The final paragraph became famous throughout human space. We often wonder if humanity has a role to play in galactic civilization. The answer is yes. Our role is to remind other species of their capacity for growth, change, and love. We are the galaxy's adoptive family, taking in strays and showing them they belong. Do Hyun kept a copy of that report in his palace office. But his most treasured possession was a simple family photo from New Busan. It showed a human janitor, his nurse wife, and their adopted alien son eating dinner together and laughing. On quiet evenings, Do Hyun would look at that photo and remember the most important lesson his human parents had taught him. Family is not about blood or species or destiny. Family is about choosing to love someone and never giving up on them. The Velkaran Empire had learned that lesson, and in learning it, they had become something greater than they had ever been before. The human custodian who rescued a broken alien child had not just saved one life. He had shown an entire empire what it meant to be truly civilized. And across the galaxy, other species began to ask themselves a simple question. What would happen if they chose love over fear? The answer was transforming the galaxy, one adopted stray at a time,